How are we? Can we hear me okay? I always love to ask just to make sure. I'm by myself today, so I always have to check if you guys can hear me. But good morning, everyone. I am so excited for today's episode. It's going to be so much fun. We're just going to sit here and chat, and we're going to talk all about stabilizers today because I had asked last week and asked you guys what you wanted to see in the future, and you guys all said stabilizers and other notions and other stuff. I have been working on the first quarter of shows for 2026, and I tried my absolute best to listen to all of your suggestions. So stay tuned for this next year. We've got some fun stuff going on, but I'd love to see how you guys are doing. I've got my comments here. I saw someone commenting this morning, talking about weather. It's been so cold here. Oh my goodness. It was Tammy. She was like, today's a good day to stay in and craft so I don't blow away. Exactly. It is a great day to stay inside. At least here in San Diego, it has been chilly. So I'm staying inside. We're staying in the studio today. No going outside. Not happening. But very exciting stuff. I do have to fill you guys in. Over the weekend, I have to tell you, just a little background on me. I am not athletic at all whatsoever. And I ran a 5K over the weekend. I did the Santa Run down in San Diego, and that was so much fun. If I could recommend doing something for you guys to do, if you have a 5K around happening, highly recommend. That was so much fun. It was the Santa Run. So everyone was dressed up as Santa. So you can imagine the streets of San Diego filled with Santas. It was great. It was so much fun. So I had to tell you guys about that because that was a highlight of my last week. It was great. And I actually was kind of proud of myself and my timing and all of that. So good stuff, but you got to exercise. Along with all of your crafting and creativity, you got to move and exercise. So that is also a good thing too today. But yes, definitely do the Santa Run next year if you guys have the chance. And if you're in San Diego, that was so much fun. But talking all about today, we have got some great stuff planned. And I actually had a lot of fun doing some research on different stabilizers and kind of seeing which ones, because I feel like when you start working on projects and you start, kind of finding what you like, you tend to stick with the same thing. And that's kind of what I do as well. So for me, I found stabilizers that I really liked with the specific projects that I was working on, and I stuck with those because those worked. But I had no idea that there were so many other different types of stabilizers. So I'm just like you guys, and there's so much and so many different types of stabilizers that can really help make your project look even better and really hold it together. And especially with embroidery, you want to keep those stitches looking great after washes, after, ironing, anything that you're doing to the project or to the material after the fact. Stabilizer will always help keep that in check. So that is great. And learning all about the fun stuff, I had fun. I'm doing a little slideshow for you guys today. So you guys can refer to this back and you can come back when you're working on a project. I have a little cheat sheet at the end that I'll show you to help you decide what stabilizers you want to use in the future. Or maybe you're working on a project now and you're looking at your stabilizers like, what do I do? I'm going to try and help. So we're talking all stabilizers today. I am going to be talking about StayPerfect. Now, StayPerfect is our stabilizer. StayPerfect is so popular with all of our shoppers and all of our customers, and they just absolutely love it. And we do have something that I'll show you in a little bit to give you the opportunity to try multiple different stabilizers that I'm going to be talking about today. So very good stuff. But all of this information can be used and applies for the different brands. So we have Floriani as well. I know we have some Coulter Select stabilizers as well. We've got tons of different ones on our website that you can go browse and check out. And if you have a brand that you like and you prefer to, you can stick with that one. But StayPerfect, I love it. It's really super simple to use. And we also have pre-cuts. So I'll just show you this right now. This is what I'm going to kind of be talking about. We have little stabilizer variety packs. I have two different kinds. I'll show you the other one in just a second. But we have these little variety packs. And with that, these are on a roll. We've got our stabilizers on rolls, but StayPerfect, we also have pre-cuts that are in sheets. So if you don't like the rolls, which I get, it can be kind of annoying depending on what you're working on, or if you just you don't want to waste a ton of stabilizer, pre-cuts are the way to go. So we also have those. Lots of good options for you, but I want to tell you all about the ins and outs of stabilizer. So we are just going to get on started, and I have my comments here, so feel free to chime in. And I love, as I'm going through, let me know what stabilizers you have used, what your favorite one is, what you prefer to use. I love the involvement. So stay tuned. Let's get started. And I just got like a little PowerPoint we're going to go through. And then I also have some like little examples, some things to show you. So let's start from the very beginning. Now, what is an embroidery stabilizer? We all probably have a really good idea of what stabilizer is. We fit that under our fabric. We put that in the hoop. Now, I am talking a lot about embroidery today. So I'm going to be focusing on embroidery. I know you can use stabilizers for other different things as well. But in terms of embroidery, it's just that support. So you want that support underneath your material, because think if you're stitching on really lightweight material, really thin material, could even be like silk or anything like that. You need that support to hold those stitches together and to keep that design in place once you're done stitching. So, and you also want an embroidery stabilizer to stay under your material, so that way you can keep it. That design's not going to go anywhere. It'll stay the same, like I was saying before, when you wash it, when you iron on it, whatever you do to it with wears, with, for example, a t-shirt with a logo on the side of it. 99% of the time, in fact, 100% of the time, there's going to be some stabilizer underneath that. And that's just to keep it together and to keep it, keep that design well. And it also prevents any stretching or distortion or puckering. I have seen, even with my experience of embroidering and stitching on things and even sewing, you can really see the difference of an embroidery design when you are not using stabilizer. So, and again, kind of going into why choosing the right stabilizer matters. It matters because you don't want to have that distortion in the puckering. You don't want to have thread nesting. It can really cause problems not only for the design, but also your machine. If you don't have that support for the hoop and inside your machine, if you're dealing with really thin fabrics and materials, it can really, really mess up and cause thread nesting. So really, really important to have a stabilizer whenever you are using embroidery. I know a lot of people who are just getting into embroidery, maybe they got an embroidery machine and you're like, oh, I'm just going to stick my fabric in there and just start stitching. Definitely get yourself a stabilizer. It is super important. And there's so many different types that apply for different types of materials and different types of designs. So going into that, we have our 4 main stabilizers. Now, I'm including these 4 because these are our most, not only our most popular, but our most used, but there are other little subcategories as well. So keep that in mind. If you go and you're shopping today and you're stocking up on some stabilizer, we have so many different options, but these are the 4 main types that you're going to see not only with StayPerfect, but with other brands. These are the most popular ones to use. Now, cutaway, all of these are the ones that I'm showing you here, the StayPerfects, they're on the screen there. These are the ones in the roll, but we also have these, like I was saying earlier, in the pre-cut flat sheets, which is great. Cutaway is great for stretchy fabrics. So say you're working on like, I know Nike has a type of shirt that's a really breathable, stretchy type of material. That would be the perfect example to use a cutaway. So anything stretchy, the high density designs that you're working on. So it could not be a stretchy material, but it could be a really thick design, a really high stitch count design. That's when you're going to want to use a cutaway. So you also, like on the screen here, you'll want to use it with garments that you're going to be washing frequently. Cutaway will not leave. Cutaway will not move. It will not fall apart. It will not come out of whatever project you're working on. It will stay in there. It's a thicker material. And if you've got if you're sitting in your sewing room now and you have all your stabilizers, you can even go feel the difference between, say, a tearaway and a cutaway. Cutaway is going to be thicker. It's meant for those thicker designs and also for the stretchier fabrics that don't have as much support in the material. So that is a perfect example of what you're going to want to use a cutaway for. Now, a tearaway, this one is my preferred favorite. I love tearaway. I think it's the perfect thickness. Cutaway is on the thicker side, and then we also have like a no-show mesh, the different mesh stabilizers. Those are thinner. Tearaway is kind of that perfect middle material to really keep those designs in place. Now, tearaway, you're going to see it a lot used with cotton, denim, canvas. So these are materials that are not stretchy. They have a little bit more support than, say, a lycra or a stretchy material. So that is a perfect way for you to use tearaway. And denim's a great one to use tearaway for. And once you're done with that design, all you do with tearaway is to just tear it off. If you've used tearaway before, chime in the comments, but I love using tearaway because once you're done stitching off the design and you tear that off, it only stays around the embroidery design. So you're not going to have any extra stabilizer hanging around on the back of your design. Like with cutaway, you do cut it off and you do tend to leave just a little bit of material kind of sticking out just to keep that, because also you're cutting it away. So whereas tearaway, you're tearing it off and it only keeps where it's stitched, which is really, really nice. With this tearaway specifically and with StayPerfect, we do have tearaways in thicker materials. So if you wanted a lighter tearaway, you could get the light tearaway. We have the medium, which is my preferred tearaway to use. It is just that perfect, like I was saying earlier, it's that perfect thickness that works kind of all across the board. It's a very versatile stabilizer to use. And we also have it in heavyweight. So depending on what you're working on, if I would say go with tearaway if you're working on cotton, denim, or canvas or any material like that that's not super stretchy. But if you're working on a thicker design, if you have a high stitch count, if you've got really, really dense designs, then I would go for the heavyweight tearaway. So keep that in mind when you're working on it. You can kind of narrow it down. So like, for example, if you're working on the cutaways, you're using cutaway fabrics, that we also have different weights in the cutaway, but the medium cutaway is a great option. It's that perfect thickness, and that one will really work great for the stretchy materials. And same thing with cutaway, you can use the higher thickness stabilizer if you are working on a heavier design. So keep that in mind. Tearaway, you can kind of decide what stabilizer you're going to use based on the material and then decide the weight of the stabilizer based on your design. That's kind of what I always go for. But let me know what you guys like to do. Marcella, she says she loves using heavier tearaway on tea towels. So that's a great example. Tea towels and just towel material, toweling is a thicker material. It's got that unique, tea towels are very different than like a quilting cotton, for example. So that's a great example. And especially using heavier tearaway for the towels, it will really keep those designs in place. And tea towels, you wash all the time. You wash them always. So you want the stabilizers that are going to stay through multiple washes, which cutaway and tearaway, great ones. Now, going into the wash away and the heat away, these are going to be a little bit different than your normal cutaway and tearaway. Wash away, all of these also, I'm looking at my little PowerPoint here. I'm like, this is very self-explanatory. The cutaway, tearaway, wash away. Wash away dissolves in water. So I know a lot of people also like to use wash away for tea towels and other things like that. This dissolves in water. So once you're done with your design, and for example, a design that I've used wash away for is I've made Christmas ornaments before and I've stitched it out and I need a certain part of the design to be empty. That's when I'll use a wash away. So that way I can wash that off after I've stitched out and it leaves that opening. You will see wash away being used a lot for freestanding lace. We actually have a carousel that somebody designed, and all of the animals on the carousel, the entire carousel was made using wash away, and it was a whole freestanding lace and it looks beautiful, but that wouldn't be able to happen with, say, a tearaway or a cutaway. You want to be able to wash that stabilizer completely out so that way it completely dissolves and you can either use that design again, like when I was working on the Christmas ornaments. I want to say they were Kimberbell, which is funny because I'll tell a story about me making those ornaments in a little bit, but using the wash away with those ornaments, I needed certain parts of it to be clear. So once I was done, I washed it away and then I've stitched the part that I had just sewn, rehooped and redid the next part of the Christmas ornament and then washed it away. Makes it so easy to work on those trickier projects. You know, freestanding lace is very, very, it can be tough sometimes. You know, you want to make sure you get it right, and having that wash away is super important, and it dissolves completely. So great for freestanding lace, as I show on the screen. It's also great for sheer materials. So any type of, like, maybe you're working on a chiffon or some lighter sheer material, that's great because you don't want anything to be showing in the back, where if you stitched on a really sheer material and you had cutaway, you would see that thing, the back of the stabilizer behind the design, and you don't want that. You want it to be just the design. So wash away, it still provides a lot of support. I know you may think, oh, well, I'm washing this whole thing away. It will stay in the design. So think of it as kind of like absorbing into the design to keep it supported and strong, and to withstand those multiple washes as well. So great things. Wash away, I know a lot of people also use for towels, which is awesome. And wash away can also be used as a topper. So it is great to use for, like we were just talking about, towels. It's a great material to use on top of your design. So that will just also add a bit of extra support, a bit of extra stability to that design, which is really awesome, especially if you're working on projects for other people or it's a gift or something like that. You really want it to look perfect and not have anything in sight. Wash away is a great option for you. And like Bev, she just commented, which is a great question. I'm afraid the wash away will be washed out. It does. That's where wash away can be a little bit deceiving, because you think, oh, you know, I am washing this out. Where did the stabilizer go? It's gone. It absorbs into the design essentially, and it will soak up into whatever you're stitching out, and it will stay, kind of like with tearaway as well. It will stay with the design, but you're only washing away the part that was not stitched on. So whatever you stitch on, it will stay in that design, but whatever you wash off, whatever is not being stitched on, it will dissolve, which is really great. We love that. So this is awesome. And if you guys want, let me know if you want this little PowerPoint slide. I would love to share this with you. I can post it in our SMP Nation Facebook group. So let me know if you guys want this as well. I also have like a little cheat sheet if you guys were curious about that as well. But I also love using wash away as a topper. So you can do a tearaway underneath, depending on what you're working on. You could do a tearaway underneath that's going to go in the hoop. And then you can use the wash away on top, lay that on top of your fabric before you start stitching. And then you can wash that off and you'll be good to go. So you can always mix and match as well, which is a great option. And I also, here, I can put me on the screen here real quick, or if I'm still here, oh, my overlay's up. But you can mix and match all of these different stabilizers. So, and also one little trick that I love to use as well when it comes to stabilizers, and I do this a lot with tearaway. If I'm using a tearaway stabilizer on a project and I'm starting to stitch, the machine's running, and I'm seeing that there's slight puckering or there's slight, you know, something's not quite looking right and it just needs a little bit more support, you can add another layer of stabilizer right underneath there. It does not hurt. So you can always see that when you're starting out with your design, or when you're going through your design, like halfway stitching, you can see, oh, this is getting a little bit dense. Maybe I should throw another layer of stabilizer under there. You can always do that as well. So keep that in mind when you are working on your projects, and you can always mix and match. Tearaway you can use underneath, wash away you can use on top, cutaway you can use underneath, wash away you can use on top. There's so many different options. So the last one that I will be talking about is heat away. Now, there's not, I don't want to say there's not a ton of options for heat away, but the wash away, tear away, and cut away is by far the most popular and the most used. We do have lots of heat away options on our website. We have a couple from StayPerfect, and then we've got some others from Floriani, and we've got some other options, but heat away is used and removed using heat. So this one is awesome for materials that cannot get wet. So say you're working on velvets, wool, faux fur, anything like that, that's going to be your opportunity to use heat away. We do have a heat away, and in the little variety packs that I had shown at the beginning of the show, which I have another one I'll show you in just a second, we do have variety packs that have heat away in there. So let me know if you have tried heat away. I've tried it once or twice before, and I do like it. I do like our StayPerfect one. It's really simple to use. But like you guys are saying in the comments, I agree. There are not too many times where you'll be using heat away as well. So like I said, it's for those materials that you know cannot get wet, whereas wash away, you can throw that underneath. Quilting cotton, you can get that wet and dry it. Whatever you have to do for the other ones, heat away is just a little bit different, but there are still some great uses for heat away, which is awesome. So love that. Denise says she hasn't tried heat away yet. Yes, I would love to see what you guys think. If you guys haven't tried it, give it a shot. Let me know what you guys think of it. But I know a lot of times, like for me, I love my iron. I will always end up using my iron, but it's just that healthy fear of the heat that I always have to be very cautious of. So I will always tend to go for a wash away or a tear away or even a cut away. Now, with those materials that can't get wet, you don't have to just use heat away on it. I want to let you know that as well. You can use cut away, you can use tear away, but heat away is a thinner material. It's going to be more on the realm of a mesh. So cutaway and tear away is, think of it like a paper, whereas wash away and heat away are going to be more of like I don't want to say webbing, but more of a meshy material. So a little bit thinner. So if you need that support, go with cutaway. But wash away and heat away are going to be your lighter material, your mesh material to use for those different types of fabrics. So moving on along, which I also want to say, you guys can always refer to this video when you are working on your project, but I will go ahead and post this all. I also have a PDF of everything that I've written in these PowerPoints, and it's in a PDF form. That's just like a bullet point kind of for me, but I will post that as well if you want that, depending on if you want the little PowerPoints or if you just want the PDF. I will get those both posted. So make sure you're in the Facebook group if you want to check those out and just save them. I love keeping these near me when I'm working on projects, so that way I can just refer to it. Maybe I should go with this one. Maybe I should go with that one. It's always good just to have that little cheat sheet on the side, which I'll show you. I made a little cheat sheet at the end that I'll show you that is kind of like, okay, this is going to be a matching of what stabilizers to use for what. So let's continue on. There's one more type of stabilizer that I do want to talk about, and that is specialty stabilizers. Now, these are kind of our unique, are different specific types of stabilizers. Some of these can be toppers. Some of these can be fusibles. So many different options. Fusibles, like I wrote down here, fusible stabilizers, they add structure to the slippery fabrics. So fusibles are great, and I know a lot of people have used fusible stabilizers before, and we've talked about them several times on the show. So fusible stabilizers are great to add for those fabrics and materials that are not super supported. So that is great. And also with specialty stabilizers, you can also mix these with normal stabilizers as well. So then we also have adhesive stabilizers, which help with the hard to hoop items. So for example, I love peel and stick. Peel and stick is probably my favorite stabilizer to use. I love peel and stick so much. Let me take this off really quick. I'll show you this again. Oops, why am I small? There we go. So I'll show you this again. This is our little variety pack here, and peel and stick is right in here. And this is essentially a tearaway. And you hoop your machine with it. And I've used peel and stick before with different videos, so you've probably seen me use it in the past. But you hoop your machine, or you hoop your machine, you hoop your fabric, you hoop your stabilizer, and then you can take either a needle or a pin and you scrape away the top layer of the peel and stick, peel that away, and lay your material on it. So that way there's a bit of an adhesive from the material to the stabilizer to really keep everything intact. So I love using peel and stick when I really want to make sure placement is correct. So peel and stick with the help of, say, if you have a machine that has the alignment features, anything like that, where you can really line up your embroidery design where you need it to go. It's a star combo right there. So I love peel and stick. You can use it for so many different materials. It is a tearaway, so it works for your cottons, your denims, your canvas, but also works for several other types of materials. I love peel and stick. Great stuff. So going back to our specialty stabilizers, the adhesives, they're great. I wouldn't necessarily consider peel and stick as much of a specialty stabilizer because it's still technically a tearaway, but it's a good example to show you how adhesive stabilizers really help to keep everything aligned. And if you have a material that you're working on that's a little bit, fussy, or it's kind of moving in its own way, this is a great option. Use that peel and stick and your material won't go anywhere. Now, the last one of our specialty stabilizers is toppers. So toppers prevent stitches from sinking into fabric texture. Now, I know a lot of the time, the first thing that I think of when I think of using toppers is on tea towels. Because the tea toweling is such a different material that you're stitching on top of, you don't want those stitches to sink into the material. You want it to stay on top. You want it to stay vibrant. You want it to stay, really highlighted on top of that material. And you can see it on the screen. It's in the blue and white over to the left. It's the high loft dimensional topping and stabilizer from Floriani. I've used this before on shows in the past, and it is a great product. When it first came out, I was really, really, really impressed. Bernadette, even baby clothes, exactly. Great suggestion, exactly. The nap fabric from Kim, exactly. And I don't know your name, but another comment says she uses fusible for reverse applique. That's a great example as well. So Betsy, also peel and stick is good with working with vinyl. Exactly. So love that. And we also, talking about baby clothes, you don't want the back of that design to be irritating on skin. So, and that doesn't even apply to baby clothes, because I know for me, if something's bugging me on my shirt or an embroidery design is, bothering my skin, it can be annoying and can be frustrating. So that's where these specialty stabilizers and these other stabilizers can really come in handy, because it will diminish that. You won't have to worry about the embroidery design. Whatever you stitch on, for example, with the baby clothes, you won't have to worry about it irritating the skin, rubbing up on the skin, because that can be really frustrating. And especially for babies, they can't talk. So you're not going to hear what's bugging them, but that is just a great way to, what's the phrase? Like, put out the fire before the fire starts. So we love that. And talking that Floriani High Loft, I love that stabilizer, or the topper, because that adds dimension. So the High Loft dimensional topper adds dimension to your design. It almost makes your design 3D. But what I've noticed when I use the High Loft dimensional topper, I see such a huge difference in the vibrancy of my design. I'm not sure if it's because it's a white stabilizer, and so stitching on top of white will just make it a little bit brighter and more vibrant. But every time I've used that Floriani High Loft, it just makes my designs look so bright, so vibrant, and I love it. It's really, really great. And I also love how it adds a little bit of that 3D element to it. So I know a lot of designs can be like 3D. We love the puffy fonts, all that stuff. So that's where that High Loft specialty stabilizer will really, really come in handy, is because it adds that dimension without adding too much bulk to your design and adding too much weight to the material to where it can't hold it up. So that is great. We love specialty stabilizers. That's when I tend to have the most fun because you can really get some fun ones like that. High loft is great to add the dimension. There's lots of other different options to really step up your embroidery design. So now, next, I have a little cheat sheet here. So this is kind of going into how to find the right stabilizer, a little step by step. So first, most important thing is what fabric are you working on? So I have a little guide here, which I have another one I'll show you in just a second, but knit or stretchy, if you're working on those types of materials, I would lean for cutaway. Stable wovens, tear away, delicate or sheer wash away, and water sensitive heat away. So just a nice little thing to keep by you if you are ever working on something or you're just kind of torn on which types of materials to use. I love following this little step-by-step guide. So obviously the fabric is the most important part, but you also want to consider your stitch density. So if you're really working on a thick project, like for example, I have worked on photo stitch. So I've stitched out a complete picture. I did a complete picture of a dog, and that was, oh my goodness, I remember seeing the stitch count and being like, how is this even possible? I think it was an extremely high stitch count because it was so detailed and such a dense design. So when I'm looking at that project mixed in with what fabric I'm using, that will help me kind of decide what stabilizer I want to use. But don't neglect the stitch density. If you're working on a really simple, maybe just a monogram, something like that, that's a bit of a different story. But you can also still kind of think about that depending on how thick you're making that monogram, how intense and vibrant you want that monogram to be. So it really just depends, but I always love to consider the fabric and the density together, the density of the design together. So you really have all the options and you can really think about what would be the best thing to use with that project. So next step, think about your project use. So depending on what you're working on, are you going to be washing this multiple times? Are you going to be taking this out? Like, are you wearing this? What is the use for the project? And that will also help you decide what stabilizer to use, because if you're, making a makeup bag, you're not going to have to worry about wearing it, obviously. So you're not going to have to consider, adding something behind it to make the design not cause any irritation or any rubbing against the skin. So different things to consider when you're working on that. And also adding a topping. So if you are working on a project that you really want to stand out, to shine, you can consider adding a topping on top. But I would say the most important thing is figuring out the stabilizer that you're going to be using that's going to go in the hoop. That's the first most important thing, because that will decide how well the design sits on the material, how well the material can hold that design. So really, 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 step 1 and 2 are the most important things, and then 3, 4, and 5 are going to be after the fact. So adding topping is great. I did see a comment talking about high loft again. If you have more questions, I would love to do another demo on high loft because I really, really loved working with it. It's very easy to use, and I have used it with other types of projects before. So let me know if you want to see something on that, because that is a really, really cool topper to use. And the last step is hooping properly. So that is, it can be a little self-explanatory. Once you've got all of that, just hoop it right away. But make sure that you're checking your fabric for any, little puckering, any stretching of it. You don't want to stretch, like for cotton, for example, with quilting cotton, you really don't want to stretch that too much in the hoop, because that can warp the design, that can warp the fabric, and that can, say you're stitching an embroidery design on a block that you're going to end up adding into a quilt. You really don't want to mess up any of the sizing of the quilt and the quilt block as well, because that can stretch the fabric. It can just cause a lot of problems if you're really pulling that fabric around and trying to get it to really fit in the hoop. So another tip that I would have as well is don't use the right size hoop. So I have seen, and I have made this mistake several times before, where I have used a hoop that was too big for the design, because I'm like, oh, I want to use a big hoop and have it all really nice, and it's a big hoop is better. No, always use the hoop that best fits the size of your design or whatever material that you're working on. That also prevents any warping, any stretching of the material. It's super important because I can't tell you how many times I have tried to do, I was working on like a little quilt. I think it was like a table runner, and I tried to embroider on it, and I stretched the fabric way too much in the hoop, and I got done and the alignment was all off. I was like, why did I do that? So we all have to go through those to learn, of course. So once I figured that out, I was like, okay, we are only going to be using this size hoop for this size of design, XYZ. And also using too big of hoops can kind of mess with your design as well. So if you're working on, say, like a 5x5 design, go for that 5x7. If you're using a smaller one, you can do the 4x4, or I know some machines even have a 2x2 or 1.5x2, something like that. So always utilize the different size hoops. Don't just stick with one, because I made that mistake and I wish I did not. So going back to this one, making sure that we're just hooping well. And, you know, even there's different things that you can do as well to make sure that you're lining everything up correctly. If you've got an embroidery machine that has those features, that you can really line everything up perfectly before you even start stitching, that is even better. So lots of good stuff on that, but just a quick, simple step-by-step. If you are ever, I know we have so many stabilizers. We all have them. We've got them in our sewing room, and it can be confusing, or you can just sit there and be like, what do I use? I don't know. I'm not sure. If you're ever confused, this is just a great little procedure that you can go through when picking your stabilizer, because you don't think about it. A lot of the time you won't think of a stabilizer as being super important, or you just think it's another step in it. But if you really pay attention to it, you can make your embroidery designs look just perfect with all of the right stabilizers. So there's our little step-by-step there. And I just want to remind everyone as well, I know I talked about it earlier, I will be posting these in the Facebook group. So make sure you join our SMP Nation Facebook group if you want all of these little PowerPoint slides and my little cheat sheet. I will get those posted today. But yes, May also commented the hoop gives support as well. Yes, 1000%. So the trifecta of the stabilizer material and the hoop, just make sure you got all your ducks in a row with that before you start stitching, and you'll be good to go. And I saw another comment, sometimes you have to learn the hard way. That's so me. That is really how I learn, and especially with this type of creativity as well, and these types of projects that you're working on, you really just have to kind of learn as you go. And as my favorite quote that I have really been saying to myself a lot whenever I'm working on projects, Bob Ross, there's no mistakes. There's only happy accidents. Please, if I have one piece of advice, there are no mistakes, because 99% of the time when you make a mistake, you learned from that mistake, or whatever that was, you learned what to do different. So I do not believe in mistakes. I think they're happy accidents. And especially with embroidery, they are definitely happy accidents, because one little thing can change a design. So it's always good to identify all of these different factors before you even start stitching, so that way your embroidery design can come out perfectly. So now here is a little guide that I created for your materials. So this is the lightweight, medium, and heavy is going to refer to the different stabilizers. So we have our lightweight, we have medium, and we have heavy. Now, lightweight is going to be in between 1 and 1.5 ounce. And I want to just tell you, I don't expect you guys to know the exact weight of all your fabrics, but this is just a guide to kind of help you out when you are picking what stabilizer to use. So don't freak out if you're like, I don't know how much my material weighs. Don't worry about it. You can usually kind of figure it out based on what you've got in front of you. So lightweight is going to be perfect for those fine fabrics, the low density designs. It's thinner, it's going to be less supportive. So if you don't need that support, this would be a great option for you. And if you're working on those fine fabrics, that would be another awesome way to go, is going with the lightweights. Now, lightweight, medium, and heavy, this applies for cutaway and tearaway as well. So this applies for both. Now, medium is the middle ground. It's what everybody tends to go for. And even looking at the comments, a lot of you guys were agreeing that you tend to use the medium weights, which is great. That is our most popular. That is kind of the way that everybody tends to go because it's just right in that middle. It's not too heavy. It's not too light or thin, kind of like Goldilocks and the bears and the porridge. It's just that perfect little middle way to use on most projects. So love using that. Like in the previous slides, cotton, denim, canvas. I'll use tearaway a lot when I'm working on designs that I'm turning them into a quilt block, things like that. Especially with the tearaway too, when you're working with quilting, you're going to stitch that quilt top and then you're going to put the batting and the backing fabric all together. So you won't have to worry about seeing that stabilizer. So you can be a little bit more free with what stabilizers you use when you're working on quilts blocks, things like that. Now the heavier weight of stabilizers, that's for the denser designs or the heavier material as well. So dense designs, athletic wear is a great one. So if you're working on, logos for business shirts, I know Nike or the dry fit, I think that's what I was thinking of earlier. The dry fit shirts are super popular. I know a lot of guys, even Kyle, he loves those dry fit shirts. So those would be great to use a heavier cutaway or heavier tearaway because it doesn't have too much support, but it still is stretchy. So, and also if you're working on those dense designs, you've got a really thick logo to work on, that would be the perfect opportunity to use the heavy weight tearaway or cutaway. So there's a little stabilizer weight guide that you can just refer to, if you're looking at, you've got all the different types of stabilizers, but you're like, I can't really decide what one would be best. So for me, I would, step one, identify the fabric. Step two, identify the design that you're working on. So you really want to make sure you look at both of those, and that will really help you decide which one to use. Because if you've got a finer fabric, say you've got, let's just do a little tester here. You've got a fine fabric, but you've got a dense design. You've got both where you're like, okay, I could use lightweight, I could use heavyweight, or you could go in the middle and use medium. So that's kind of where I would go if you're dealing with a thin fabric and a dense design, or a really thin design and a dense fabric. That's where you can kind of see which one would work best for you. So we love to see that. Yes, I will be getting you guys the cheat sheet in just a moment. Once we get done with the show today, I will be sure to post all that for you guys and you can keep them. I made a PDF that I kind of wanted to make one so that way you can just print it out and just keep it by your sewing room. So it's just a simple little stabilizer cheat sheet with all the information that I'm showing you today. And then also I do have some recommendations on it. So if you were looking at, new stabilizers to pick up, anything like that, I do have some recommendations depending on what you're working on in that PDF. So good information for you. And the last thing that I'm going to kind of talk about is just troubleshooting. So say you're having puckering, thread loops, wavy outlines. You're in a perfect world, we would love to have all of these amazing designs stitch out perfectly. But sometimes, like I was saying earlier, we don't make mistakes, happy accidents, things happen, life happens. You can even look away from your machine for 2 seconds and just something will happen. It is okay. That is not the end of the world. And I want to remind everyone, because I am so guilty of that. I'll be like, what happened? No. Don't give up. All it takes is some troubleshooting. So if you're seeing puckering, which I know is probably the number one tense issue that tends to arise, and that is either because your stabilizer is too light or your fabric was being stretched. So when you're doing that and you're seeing puckering, stop the machine, take it out, take the hoop out of the machine, and just kind of look, check your stabilizer. If you're using that lighter stabilizer, then I would either A, leave the stabilizer in, leave everything in the hoop, and just throw a layer, stick your hoop back in, and put a layer of stabilizer. This is where my pre-cuts from StayPerfect really come in handy. I will just slide a layer of stabilizer into in between the hoop and the machine. So I'll stick the hoop back in and I will throw a layer of stabilizer and then I'll start stitching it again. That is what I do. You can always try that. And that tends to work for me when I start seeing puckering. Now, if you're really in too deep and you're going to have to redo the design, Then I would check for the material and the fabric and all that stuff and see if there was any stretching. I am so guilty of stretching my fabric, especially quilting cotton, and I am really trying to get better at that. But that would be the two things that I would go for. So just check your stabilizer, check and see if it is too light, go ahead and throw another layer of something else. Say you're working with a lightweight tearaway and you say, I'm seeing puckering, this is not working. You can even throw a layer of medium tearaway right underneath there and just throw that in, continue the machine, see if that makes a difference. If not, then I would take it out, identify the fabric, see what's going on with that. And most of the time, it could be just a stabilizer, the stabilizer and your material not meshing well. So that is super important. We love that we're able to fix that. And it's an easy fix, but don't stress when you see something happening. If it's not going the right way, just pause and we can troubleshoot and see what's going on with it. So, and Linda said it's great that she added troubleshooting. I had to because I am just like, we are all the same. We are all the same. We all have been through it before. And even when you're first starting with embroidery, you're already kind of sitting there like, what do I need to do? If you're just learning, you're trying to learn the ropes. Then you throw in the puckering and thread loops and nesting. And it's like, what is this? What is this? So I always want to show you what can happen if there is any issues that arise. So because the issues are fixable, that's the most important thing. And that's what I want to emphasize. They are fixable. So continuing on with troubleshooting, thread loops. If you're seeing thread loops, that's when I would say you're not using enough stabilizer or you could be having some tension issues in your machine. So that is also another thing where you just want to make sure that your machine is good. If you guys are on top of doing your normal maintenance of just oiling your machine, checking your tension, doing all that stuff before you start embroidering will help you so much, and you will be able to avoid 90% of the problems that could arise if you don't check your tension, if you don't drop a little thing of oil in your machine before you start working on it. So very, very important to check the machine as well, and even do like a test design before you start with your real one. So that way you can really make sure that everything will stitch out correctly. So, and thread loops, same thing as what I was saying before. You can always just throw another layer of stabilizer in between your hoop and the machine while you're stitching out, and not while the machine is actively stitching, but pause your machine, bring that needle up and throw a layer of stabilizer in there and then start the machine again. You will really be able to see a difference once you add that extra layer of stabilizer. I've seen it with my own eyes. I have been working on projects and then I will just throw another layer in there, and in seconds, it looks 10 times better. That's all it needed, was just a little extra support. So that is great. And then the last one is any wavy outlines, sinking stitches. Sinking stitches I've seen a lot as well, and wavy outlines both kind of apply, and they're in the same type of family, but with wavy outlines, the wrong stabilizer type. So that's why I wanted to show you that little guide so you're not using the wrong stabilizer with materials. So very, very, very important to really make sure you're using the right stabilizer that is good for your machine, or not for your machine, for your fabric and for your design. Sinking stitches, my recommendation would be throw a topping on there, throw some sort of topper. You can even throw a wash away on there just to add that extra support on top of the material. Where you have all that support on the bottom, you got to even it out with some on the top. So that would be my tip. I always keep some wash away handy when working on projects because that one's super simple to just lay on top of. It'll just keep that support in there. You can wash it off right away. Really, really, really great stuff. And let me know if you have ever dealt with sinking stitches, any issues that have come up when you're working on designs. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. May also brought up a great point talking about thread. Sometimes the machine doesn't like the thread that you're using. So that is also a really great point. That's happened to me before as well, where the thread keeps breaking. You keep having issues with the thread. I would say the stabilizer and the thread, if you're having thread issues, focus on the thread. See what's going on with that. Change your thread, try a different one, because that can be more of an issue on top. So, and on top of your machine, whereas the stabilizer is underneath, all that stuff. So definitely another thing to consider though. I can add that to our steps. Check your thread. Make sure you're using one that your machine likes for sure. I love our Floriani, of course, and then we also have Exquisite. Both are great options and super vibrant, and I have never had an issue with Floriani and Exquisite. It's super, super simple. It's the perfect weight as well. So you're really able to not have a ton of issues. I have never had issues working with Floriani Exquisite. I've had issues before with certain machines and certain threads. So it just kind of depends. Machines do have their own personality. June, exactly. You are exactly. They have their own personality and they like what they like and they don't like what they don't like. So that is awesome. But, and even Patricia, she said, my machine is finicky about the brand of needles. So many things to consider when you are starting a project. And I always will recommend to just do a little sweep of your machine and your thread and all that good stuff before you start that. And then you can go into your stabilizers, materials, all that good stuff. Heidi said Floriani works great in all my machines. Yes, I love Floriani material or thread. Love Floriani. It really is great. So I'm so glad you guys like the cheat sheets. I made them honestly kind of for myself, but then I was like, of course SMP Nation would want this, of course. So now this leads me into, we've kind of gone over the bulk of all the information that I wanted to share with you today, but I do want to show you these variety packs. So we've talked all about the different types of stabilizers, and I want to show you our StayPerfect little variety packs. We have so many different types. I think I just hit my microphone. Sorry if you heard that. We have so many different types of these variety packs. So this one here, this one is my personal favorite, and I've picked this up probably a couple times in the past couple of years, but we've got our medium tearaway, which is, I don't know if you can really see it. I'll show you a little bit more. There you go. So you've got our medium tearaway, we've got medium cutaway, the peel and stick, and then a water-soluble topping. So if you really want to try out, let me get my comments back up so I can sit and talk to you guys. But if you were looking at all of this and like, oh, I love my cutaway, I love my tearaway. If you've never tried peel and stick, this is a great way to try it. And you have so much in here. These are really big rolls. They're 12 by, these first three are going to be 12 by 5. So 12 inches by 5 yards. And then this last one's going to be 12 inches by 10 yards. So lots of good stabilizer to use in here, but this is a great way for you to try the new stabilizers as well as give that water soluble topping a go, because I know a lot of people haven't tried toppings or toppings. Are we talking about ice cream? I don't know. We're talking about what's for lunch. Oh my goodness. But water soluble topping is a great one to try. And if you haven't already, I would definitely recommend trying that water soluble topping. See how it makes a difference in your designs. I would love to see. So this is one of them. We have tons of them on our website. So I'll show this one right here. And then the other one I wanted to show you, we've got some different options. And we have this one here. So this one, you still have that water soluble topping. You've got this one here. I'm trying to keep it. My camera's all backwards. So you've got the water soluble topping, still got the medium tearaway. You've got medium cutaway. And this one, which we didn't talk about too much, but it still applies in that mesh stabilizer realm. And this one is a cutaway, but this is no-show mesh. So let me know if you've ever used some no-show mesh. I have a couple of times. I've actually used it not for embroidery though. I've used it for quilting, I want to say. I don't remember exactly what project, but I have used this one before. So if you're looking to try some new stabilizers, I would definitely give these little variety packs a shot, because you're not committing to these giant rolls of stabilizer that you don't know if you like yet. But if you try these, it gives you opportunity to try all different types. So we've got, these are just two, I think, of these 6 or 7 different bundles that we've got and the different variety packs. So depending on which ones you want, I know a lot of you guys were talking about how you've not used heat away. So we do have some variety packs that do have heat away included as well. So definitely check those out. And these are all on our website. Just go to our StayPerfect variety packs and you can check all of them out. And we also have tons of stabilizer on our website as well. We've got all of our StayPerfect ones there. So if you need to restock, you can go check out all of those there, and great stuff on there. But that is going to conclude my little teaching hour. I am so excited and glad that you guys loved this. Let me know what you guys want to see next. And if you have any, I'd love to hear any notes, anything you want to be changed or different. If you like those, I know you guys liked that cheat sheet. I'll have that up as soon as I possibly can, and I'll post those in the Facebook group so you guys can check those out. But if you want those more, if you want more cheat sheets, if you want more education, let me know. I actually had so much fun. I'm no way a professional crafter, I should say. I do it I obviously work here. I love working on projects here. I'm not sitting here saying I am a professional or I know all. So I also like that though, because I am learning with you guys. And so I'm learning what works and what doesn't. And so I'm glad that I was able to show you guys just some tips and some helpful stuff that I've kind of picked up along the way. And I know everybody has great tips. And so feel free to voice them down in the comments and let me know if you want another little class next and what you would want it on. So let me know. But right now we're going to get started with some giveaways. So let's start off with a $25 gift card because I want to get you guys some stabilizer. So if you win this today, you will be able to go shop, grab some stabilizer, get that ordered, and that way your projects are going to look gorgeous. All right, so let me add our wheel to the stage. Let's spin and see who is going to win this gift card today. I really had so much fun today, guys. That was great. And I love that it's just a fun little won a $25 gift card to Sewing Machines Plus. So if you would like to claim that prize, head to StayPerfect.tv. You can see it scrolling down on the bottom of the screen there. Fill out the information. The most important thing that we need from you for this gift card is your email, because we will be sending you a gift card code. So when you go to fill out that form, let us know what you won and let us know the email address that we can send that gift card code to. All right, so next, we are going to give away a sew mat. I love these. We all love our sew mats. They are world famous. What can you say? But we've got lots of different designs. We've got solid colors, we've got patterns, and we've got even an Angela Wolf sew mat. So if you love Angela, we all love her here, you can go get one today. So let's spin and see who's going to win one of our famous sew mats. If you've never seen those before, our sew mats are great. You put your machine on top of them and it helps with noise, vibration, sound. Also protects your whatever your machine is sitting on top of. So that is also great. CB977-V6T, congratulations. You have just won a set of, I almost said gift card again. You have won a sew mat. So go ahead and head to StayPerfect.tv. Fill out the information, let us know what sew mat you want, where we're gonna send that to you, and we will get that shipped out to you ASAP. But congratulations, you have just won a little sew mat. How cool. All right, let me just get this taken off. Well, that is gonna wrap up our show for today. Thank you so much for joining and hanging out with me. I had so much fun with you guys today. And let me know if you guys want more of this, we're just sitting and chatting, and let me know if you want any more classes. I mean, more, was this a class? More of like a discussion, a little discussion. I love it. So I love that you guys came and hung out with me today. We will be right back. We actually, the next 2 Thursdays, I will not see you, and I am going to be so sad. I will not see my SMP Nation because we've got Christmas and we've got New Year's, but I think I'm going to miss you guys too much, so we might have to do a show in between that time. Maybe a Tuesday, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. I'll think about it, but I will see you guys next year. What? 2026, I cannot believe that it's here, and this year went by in the blink of an eye. Oh my goodness. But I hope you guys have just a great holiday season. I hope that you're able to just sit and enjoy some time with family and just relax and do some rest and relaxation. We all deserve it at the end of the year. And I hope you guys get some good food, get some good gifts, and I will see you guys next year. Probably not, because I'm gonna want to see you guys before then. So stay tuned for another show coming out, probably on one of these Tuesdays that we're not doing the Thursday show. So I will see you guys soon, but happy holidays. Enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your weekend, and let me know what stabilizer you guys end up picking up today. I would love to hear. And yeah, I will see you guys so soon. Bye, guys.